Hi, Dr. Emily Roberts here, Personal Finance for PhDs. I want to chat with you today about Die with Zero by Bill Perkins, which is one of my most favorite personal finance books I've ever read. I read it within the last couple of years, and it's one that I talk about with people a lot. Like I bring up the ideas from the book. I've even read it twice, which is a little bit unusual for me. So I just want to share with you today my recommendation that you read this book, but with a big caveat that I'll get to in a moment. And also some of the key concepts that I learned from the book and took away that have really been affecting how I think about my own life with respect to my finances. Die with Zero is definitely a personal finance book, but I'm not really recommending it because of the direct money related concepts in the book. I actually think it's a little bit off in that way. You have to understand that Bill Perkins is probably a one percenter. Like he worked on Wall Street. He made his career as an energy trader. It's very apparent from the writing in the book that he lives a pretty nice lifestyle. And so that part of it is not that relatable, I would say, to like a middle class person or like a person on like grad student stipend or a postdoc salary. So that you have to take definitely with a big grain of salt. The other thing is that the book is clearly written for someone who tends toward oversaving. It's written for someone who has a problem with spending, who's much more inclined to put all their money away for the future. And the book is really trying to talk you more into spending in the here and now and not doing as much saving. So if that is not a message that would be beneficial to you, don't read the book. There are two chapters in particular that I thought were completely worth the price of admission of reading the whole book. They were chapter 6, Balance Your Life, and chapter 7, Start to Time Bucket Your Life. Especially that chapter 7 is the one I want to share with you today. These two chapters really made me think differently about my life, especially, and my finances kind of secondarily, and I wish I had been exposed to them much earlier. The core concept behind the idea of time bucketing your life is that as we go throughout our life, we die many deaths before we get to our one final ultimate bodily death. And the deaths that we die are when we move from one life stage to the next. So you can already think to your past, the child you died when you turned 18 or when you went off to college. The college you is dead and gone. For me, looking back from my perspective, I'm 38 now. The grad student version of me is gone. This relates not only to like our career and our education and so forth, but also to family formation. I can look back at the time, my husband and I had 6 years and we were married before we had children. That dink couple is dead and gone. Even being a parent of very young children, that's a phase that's passed. I now have elementary school age children. So you can look back and see that there are different versions of you that have died deaths along the way as you've progressed throughout your life. Starting with that core idea, in each time bucket of our life. Maybe there's a grad student version of you. Maybe there's the postdoc version of you, et cetera, et cetera. Within each of these time buckets that you lay out throughout your life, you have certain opportunities, you have certain resources available to you, and you have the opportunity to create memories. Creating memories is one of the key concepts in this book. Bill Perkins talks about banking your memories and that they pay dividends every year after you make them. So there's a financial analogy there, right? The memories are what is going to sustain you when you're in your older years, ideally, if you get there, when you're not able to create amazing new memories. At least you're going to have a lifetime of memories to look back on. In each time bucket of your life, you have the opportunity to store up memories in your memory bank. And in each time bucket, you have certain resources. The resources that Bill talks about, and this is actually in the chapter on balancing your life, you have the resources of time, health, and money. And you have them in different ratios throughout your life. In the years that you're getting your PhD, you definitely don't have a lot of money, but you probably do have a lot of flexible time and your health is probably pretty good, at least in comparison to what it's going to be in decades in the future. And then if you project forward to the retirement version of you, after you stop working, you'll have plenty of time. You'll probably have a good bit of money if you've, been applying personal finance principles, but your health is probably not what it once was. And then in the middle, which is like where I am, I have kind of a balance of all three of these. My health is still pretty good. My money is growing. We have more at our disposal now, but I'm a little more constrained on time, I would say, than I used to be. So in each time bucket, you have these resources, and you can use these resources to create these memories. When I think back to the grad student version of myself, I didn't even necessarily recognize all the opportunities that I had at that time to make these memories to put in my memory bank. I'm going to give you an example of a regret that I have, and also an example of an opportunity that I'm glad I took up. The regret that I have from grad school is that my husband and I were invited to the wedding of his lab mate and very good friend. And his lab mate was from Costa Rica, so that's where the wedding was going to be. My husband and I were considering, okay, if we go to this wedding, it's going to be a big trip. It's going to be costly. We'll actually make it like a week of vacation. We started making plans about it. We started, budgeting it out. And we ultimately decided not to attend the wedding and not to take that vacation. There were a lot of reasons for that. One of them was financial. And, I don't think I realized at that time what a unique opportunity that was going to be. I still haven't been back to Costa Rica in all the years that have passed since that wedding occurred. And certainly, the opportunity to go with a group like that and to see the country from the perspective of a local, that opportunity has not arisen again. And so it's not only, missing out on that special memory with our good friend, but also the memories that we would have generated for ourselves from like the vacation and everything. That was a missed opportunity. And frankly, we could have afforded it. It's just a matter of making some different choices with our money. So maybe that year we could have saved a little less and gone on that vacation, and that would have added to that memory bank. Also during grad school, I'm really glad that I got involved with a part of campus culture that I wasn't expecting. So I went to Duke for graduate school, and before I went there, I had zero interest in college basketball or basketball generally. So coming onto campus and being exposed to the basketball culture at Duke was really different for me. I was a little unsure about it at first, but starting my second year, I really dived in and I became a big fan of the men's basketball team. And I was a Cameron crazy and did all the stuff and participated in that culture to a great degree. And I'm so glad that I did, because that was a unique opportunity to be involved with that subculture of the university that was not going to come around again. And I honestly made a ton of friends through the process of like attending games and all the stuff we had to do to get to the games. Made some great friends in graduate school, made some great memories. And so I'm really, really glad that I participated in that. Again, it was a unique opportunity for that time of life. I want to emphasize, you don't have to spend money to make memories for your memory bank. But if you are inclined towards saving, perhaps over saving the way that I am, I do think you should consider that there should be a balance here. I do think you should save money even when you're young, even when you're in grad school or your postdoc. Bill Perkins may not agree with that. I do think you should save, but I also think you should be intentionally spending on these items that are going to put memories into your memory bank. That's what I wanted to chat with you about the book, Die with Zero. Again, I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it, but you have to know where the author is coming from. I'm not necessarily recommending it for the financial advice, like don't save when you're young and smooth your consumption over your life. I don't agree with that stuff, but it was a really, really thought-provoking book overall. This book made a splash in the personal finance community. It's a pretty controversial one, not for reasons that I've talked about in this video so far, but for other chapters in the book. And so if you read it, then you'll be able to engage with people around this topic and chat with them about it so that maybe their lives can benefit from it. Again, I'm Dr. Emily Roberts of Personal Finance for PhDs, and thank you so much for joining me.